What's going on, world? It's your girl Napalm, here to give you a tutorial on the quickest way to find the tempo and key of any beat, song, or sample. So before I do that, let me pull up my DAW of choice today, which is going to be Pro Tools. While I'm waiting on that template to come up, let me just break down the importance of making sure you set the tempo or the BPM, which stands for beats per minute, of every session you work on, regardless of which DAW you're working in, okay? Setting the tempo and the key of the session is always the first thing I do when I open up any new session in any DAW. Setting the key isn't quite as important as setting the BPM, but it definitely helps, especially if you're using, a plugin like Auto-Tune, where the key is definitely gonna play a part into the sound you get out of it. Setting the BPM ensures that when you're either, editing audio or using any time-based effects like a reverb or a delay, that the song stays on the grid, making it easier to edit, and that the effects play on time. Say if you have a quarter note delay or anything like that set, it's gonna play on time with the beat instead of randomly. So I'm gonna give you a couple of different options on finding that tempo and that key. If you have access to the internet, this is one of my favorite sites to go to. I'm just gonna go to Google and type in tune bat, one word. We're gonna just go ahead and click on that home page. And as you can see on their home page, they actually have the keys and tempos of some of the hottest songs out right now. But that's not the feature that we're gonna use today. Today we're gonna use the key and BPM finder. So once you click on that, it'll bring up this page right here where you can press select file, and you can of course find your file that way, or you can simply, which is my favorite way, is to just drag and drop. So I'm gonna find my file, and it's gonna be my beat zone. And I'm gonna just click and drag that in and wait for it to do its thing. Might take a couple minutes. And here we see it already found the key, which I know that I made this beat in C minor, which, if you know music theory, E flat major is actually the relative major of C minor. So I know that key is correct. And then it goes 140 for the BPM, which I also know that's correct because I made it. Okay, so I'm gonna head back to Pro Tools, and before I import that beat, I'm gonna go ahead and change the tempo to 140, and I'm gonna go ahead and set the key to E flat major, and then we'll go to E flat, and we got that locked in. All right, so now I'll go ahead and import the beat, and the quickest way to do that in Pro Tools is Shift-Command-I. That brings up this window, so I'll go ahead and find my beat on my desktop. Zone. And go ahead and get that in there. Okay, go ahead and convert that. So what that just basically does is, since I bounced the beat in 44.1 and my session is in 44.8, as you see right there, it'll just convert that into a working version for that session without any problems with the tempo. So we'll go ahead and import that. And this is just choosing the destination where your file is going to be saved. We'll just leave that. Go ahead and save in the audio file folder that's already in your session. All right, just gotta wait for that to import. All right, go ahead and press OK. That'll create a new track. Me personally, I like to go ahead and drag that bad boy all the way up to the top. It's just easier for me to, see things. What I'm also gonna do is lower the dBs on this track about at least 3 decibels so I could give myself a little bit more headroom when I start to record. And as you can already see, when I'm expanding this beat, it's already lining up on the grid with me having set that BPM earlier. And it's a little gap, as you can notice, and sometimes depending on what project I'm working on, who I'm working with, what type of song it is, I will go ahead and cut that gap out. But for the most part, you can go ahead and just leave that in there, because your time-based effects, like your reverbs and your delays, and even when you're trying to edit on grid, it'll still line up if you keep it like this. All right. So now what I'm about to do is go ahead and set that key in the auto-tune plugin. And go ahead and set the scale, which is going to be major, and the key is E flat. And there we go. Now we have that locked in. So let me show you another option that you can use to find the key and the BPM of any beat, song, or sample. So we're going to go to the internet again, type in mixed in key. It'll pull this site up. Go ahead and click on that. And here you see is actual software that you can install on your computer before the session. And it starts at about $60. So I always think that's a great option to have on your computer as a backup, because you never know what's going to happen. And to be honest, sometimes the internet is slow or whatever the case may be. So many people might be on it. So you don't want to necessarily depend on that. With that being said, let me go ahead and show you one more website that you can go to find the BPM. And that one is going to be called Vocal Remover. As you can see, I've already typed in BPM Finder on the web and sampled and used about, 6 or 7 different ones. And the two that I'm showing you, TuneBat and Vocal Remover, are definitely the 2 most accurate ones that I found, which is why I believe they're popping up top 2. So it's very similar to TuneBat, where you're just gonna click and drag in. And again, we just have to wait a minute or so, and it's gonna tell us what's up with our track. And there we go, E flat major, the same thing TuneBat was telling us. So we know that key is right. And it's also a good way, if you are dependent on the internet, if you want to, be redundant and double check that you got the right key. Because sometimes, software can bug out and be inaccurate. So I'm going to take it back to Pro Tools and play y'all some of this track so you can hear how it lines up on the grid. And we'll watch as it plays. Bam, you can see that it hit when it was supposed to. So that's a good way to check and make sure that you have the correct tempo. If it's not lining up like that, then you know something is wrong and you need to probably double check or triple check to make sure you have the correct key selected. All right, y'all. Well, I hope y'all learned a little bit from this tutorial. I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. But if you have any more questions about what you just seen, just drop them down in the comments below and I'll try to hit you back and answer your questions. All right, till next time, y'all.